participate in activities of an organization of any kind. That includes political parties. The same constitution, Article 38, gives Kenyans individually political rights, that you have, every citizen is free to make political choices. That vis-a-vis the question of the rights of political parties, which to me are more of corporate rights. What, in your opinion, ORPP constitutionally has a higher ranking? Is it individual political rights for me as an individual, that I have the right to associate with whoever I want to associate? Or is it the question that has been spoken to as political sanity within political parties? Can I be forced to leave my party, UDA, today because, for instance, I have associated myself with a position that the leader of minority has taken in parliament, that as an individual, I have made a choice, and probably could also be a matter of belief? Would you then say that my political party, UDA's rights, override my individual political rights and freedoms as enshrined under Article 4 of the Constitution? Two, you have spoken about a mix of the electoral system with what you're calling proportional representation and the first past the post. I'd really want to understand how exactly would that proportional representation cure the problem that we were trying to address with a group that was ahead of you called Gamawado, on the question of one man, one vote. Actually, just one man, one vote, even without going to shilling, since you are dealing with political offices, just to ensure that there is equitable representation, because I honestly believe that there should and there must be equitable representation, so that every member of parliament represents an equal, almost equal number of constituents, not the situation that we are in today, where you find a member of parliament who has been elected by 5,000 people and has the same voting rights, the same vote as another member, for instance, a member for Ruiru constituency who has been elected by 180,000 voters. And they have the same, the equality of the vote then is not there when it comes to representation. How then would this system that you're proposing of a mix cure that problem? You have something, Mishima?
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Catherine Wambilianga, member of this committee. Though I've come in late, but I'll make a few observations having gone through your list. I am totally in agreement with your proposal of fast-tracking the constitution of the IEBC. But on the other side, you have not given the criteria categorically on how you want this proposed. You're only proposing that a member of your ORPP should be there. But what about the other criteria? And secondly, you have also given this proposal, you're backing our proposal on the two-third gender role. Fine, you have said nothing about it. You have just said we do a multi-sectoral committee. Give us the proper details of what you mean by multi-sectoral. What is it, professional? What qualifications would you want to be included? Thank you.
And you don't have to give all that now. You can still actually enrich your document after this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So under 5 minutes, please respond.
Thank you. I will comment on a few and ask.
Sorry. There's one more issue from Honorable Kongo Mogeni.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Registrar, for your presentation. I just wanted to follow up from where Leader of Majority left, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, on this issue of political rights. And I think you are the right person to help us. You know how we construct our constitution. We promote its purpose, its values, its principles. Now, following from the question that has been posed by Honorable Ichung'wah, our political rights, fundamental rights can be limited as provided for in the Constitution. One of that limitation is in Article 103. You can belong to a party, you can be elected as a member of parliament, but there is that article that is entitled the vacation of office of a member of parliament. So you can belong to a party, as Honorable Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah says, but there is a way you can lose your seat. One of them is in Article 103, sub-Article 1E, where you are deemed to have resigned from a party. And then Clause 3 says Parliament shall enact a legislation to provide circumstances under which a political party where a member will be deemed for purposes of Clause 1E to have resigned from the party. Now, you are the custodian of the enforcement of this article. I think either Section 14, if I remember well, of the
14.
Political Parties. Is it
14.
14? Yes. Says if a member supports the ideology, interest, or policies of another political party, he will be deemed to have resigned from a political party. So the Constitution itself is saying if you belong to this club of a political party, you don't support its ideology, its policies, you are deemed to have resigned. So, Madam Registrar, we are here, this forum is discussing issues of discipline, political parties, party hopping. We are now multi-party democracy. You can exercise your rights under Article 38. If you are not happy with the political party A, it's not like in Kano days where we had one party. You can quit, go back to the people, you will get your political rights, your belief, your conscience, you win through another party. The person to help us is you. Have you tried to enforce Article 14, or have you found yourself in circumstances where you are supposed to enforce Section 14 as read with Article 103, so that you help us in maintaining discipline within political parties? 2, I support you. You need to be entrenched in the Constitution. Have you faced intimidation or pressure from either the current government or even the previous government in discharging your functions under Article 103 and Section 14? Then finally, you have mentioned the critical role that agents play, and we are doing this for posterity, not for UDA, not for Azimio. This is just for posterity. On the issue of political agents, I like your proposal. We should restrict them to either a political party or independent candidates. Do you think there would be wisdom if we proposed that agents be picked by political parties, but budgetary allocation to pay them be part of the mandate of IEBC, so that Parliament here can appropriate money for paying agents, the parties pick, but IEBC pays them? Do you think that is something you can support? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Proceed, please.
Thank you. I will really talk about a few issues, and then I'll leave us my assistant registrars also to talk on the others. Let me start with the one of the political parties fund, was by Honorable Wadai. It is true that we have never realized the 0.3% since the inception of the fund in 2007. But I want to note that the fund has been growing over time, and giving in my tenure in the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. When I joined the office, I made 370 million as the political parties fund for everything. Right now, we are at close to 1.5 billion, meaning every year we have been growing the fund, and Treasury has been growing the fund, and government and appropriation in Parliament also. But we are not yet there, because our proposals are usually around 5 billion. Yeah, so it means we are not yet there. But we appreciate the fact that the fund has been growing over time. The reason why we are proposing the 0.3 to be entrenched into the constitution is because there has been several attempts by different people, activists, wanting to remove even the 0.3. They say it's too much. But from where we sit, we think once it says entrenched in the constitution, probably that many attempts, and it's not once, but it's severally, attempts for people going to court and wanting the 0.3 to be reconsidered so that it moves. That is the reason. But I think it's not the only reason why we can realize the 0.3. There's also commitment and also improvement of economy. We all know that sometimes we don't have adequate funds for everything. That's why we appreciate any time the fund is grown. So our proposal to the government of the day is to at least have a commitment every year. We are adding some money on top of what is there so that progressively we capture it in our budget and we realize that in the perception of the fiscal year and the problems, probably financial problems, inadequate funds that we could be facing. The other issue I wanted to respond to is the talked about cannibalization of political parties. But I want to, first of all, the cannibalization is not done by the registrar of political parties. It is actually the cannibalization happens within the political class, outside the office of registrar of political parties. So you have little to do when people are cannibalizing each other outside you, but when they actually are alive, as we apply the requirement of the law, and we cannot hold politics by the neck because politics must happen out there, and we cannot really come and regulate individual behaviors and how people want to come together. However, we have an obligation as an institution to check what the party, and you can see we are saying we need commitment from political parties themselves and political class to follow their own constitution, their own policies, and the Political Parties Act. Because sometimes, even so much has been done, you realize that what the parties are telling you to do as the registrar of political parties it is not even in their constitution, or it's not even in the Political Parties Act. They are taking you to a direction, and then you are attacked when you actually do not go that direction. But our commitment is to the law, your own party constitution, and also the requirement of the Political Parties Fund. So as far as politics is happening out there, I do not, indeed, most of the time, we let politics happen because we are not politicians ourselves. So when carbonization on number day is happening out there, sometimes it's wrong to blame the regulator. Probably try to sort it from a political point of view outside there. I think that is our comment, which I know. And in regards to party hopping, I think the law is very clear. To us, once somebody has been elected on a particular party, there must be, if you want to move, then there must be the required regulations and laws on how you move from one political party to another, on how you move from one coalition to another. And that's what we have been enforcing. You tell us you want to move from one coalition to another, we tell you this is what you agreed at the coalition level. So if you don't fulfill the requirement of that coalition, then we tell you have not moved. Then we require you to do what you are required to do. Then we allow you to move from one coalition to another, or from one party to another. The other issue I want to comment before I give Mr. Ariel Florence to finish up is the issue of the election system that we are proposing. What is it supposed to cure? Number one, we have seen during this presentation, Kenyans coming and saying we want to even create more counties because we feel in the counties that we are in, we are underrepresented, or we are not able because our numbers are not enough. So what this is going to cure, when you make party lists based on a region, and we can elaborate that further, it means those people who are not been able to be elected, they have no constituency, for example. So they will never actually fight their way to parliament, whichever way, because their numbers cannot constitute a constituency. then it means using party list and you do regional list, you are able to capture those people who are outside the past the post positions. And then through the voting through party list, then you are bringing them to parliament. And that's why we are saying that is one method, how you can cure the problem of people who feel very underrepresented, the minorities in this country, who can never make a constituency to end up in parliament. That is one thing. It is also cure the issue of two-third gender rule. That is where you can put women, that's where you can put the youth, you can balance the vote so that finally you finish. And then thirdly, it's going to strengthen political parties, because political parties will propose those lists, and then political parties list will be voted for. So even if a political party is not among the first and the second, it still have a chance to have people coming from the list being elected and going to parliament through the party list. So it has, to us, it has a lot. But we are not saying we remove the first past the post and where the constituencies are, you remain with that, then make regional list, and every vote will count. It will actually reduce wastage of vote. You can tell me those parties that get votes to the extent of even 3 million, 5 million, those votes go to waste. They don't count, because they don't even count in political parties fund. If they don't qualify, they don't count anywhere. So the wastage in elections in terms of vote will be minimized. Yeah, so that's why we are proposing it can cure many other things. So allow Mr. Adi.
Lucy, before you go to Ali, how does it cure equitable representation? How does it cure the problem of rural constituency, for instance, with 180,000 registered voters and a higher population being represented by one member of parliament, while another constituency that I will not name, a member is elected by 5,000 people?
Yeah, Mr. Adi will comment about that, but because there is the regionally made, we are looking after the elections, we are looking at a region, how many votes in the region, because we are saying, let's even do away with the closed party list. First of all, we are doing away with the closed party list. So after elections, it's when you look at the votes, the vote distribution. So because the lists are per region, then you distribute within the region. So you are capturing also the number of votes that have been cast in a particular region. Yeah, but Mr. Adi, please comment also about that.
Right. Thank you very much, co-chairs and members of the committee. Just 3 issues. Number one is the issue of cannibalization. I think I want to say one thing about that. Basically, we are in this space, and the political landscape, of course, shows that there are a lot of wrangles within the parties. We might not call it cannibalization, but wrangles. And what we have seen is some of these issues result as a result of lack of internal democracy and lack of strong leadership. So as an office, we are building capacities of parties to have concrete ideologies, strong leadership, and internal democracy, which calls for inclusive decision making. Once that happens within political parties, then it becomes very difficult to infiltrate those parties, even by members, those who are not members of that party. So we're advocating for inclusive decision making by political parties, internal democracy, strong leadership, and a concrete ideology that all members of that party identify with. Once we have that, then it becomes very difficult for any party to be infiltrated and hence probably cannibalized. The issue of individual rights versus political rights, which was raised by Honorable Chungwa, I think Honorable Mogeni has touched on it, whatever he wanted to say. In terms of those rights, the Constitution also has mandated Parliament to come up with laws on management of political parties and those positions, and also it's one of the ways in which one loses seat. But what is important, and what we have seen in other jurisdictions, is that parties sometimes also give room for individual members to follow their conscience, provided that it is not very far from what the party believes in. So their individual consciousness of a member which must also be respected by the party. In other jurisdictions, party usually ask every member when they're elected to give about 3 or 4 matters that they think are very close to them, that even if the party takes a different position, they will not be punished. If they take a different position from the party position, they will not be punished. And they usually declare that. So if we have that kind of a scenario, then we might also promote some individual consciousness of members who are also representing their voters. So there's need to be that balance between political party position and individual members' consciousness, which sometimes is also very, very important to be considered. So deeming only comes when you outrightly oppose the party ideology on all positions, not just because of one matter or two, which you followed your conscience. I think that is also covered by the Constitution. In the issue of the issue of freedom of association and rights, I think that has been captured very well. It's also a constitutional issue. And finally, the issue about the agents. I think we don't have an issue with that proposal. Agents are recognized as poll officials in the Elections Act, but also in the Political Parties Act, there's some mandate for which is given to the RPP for training of agents, because again, they are coming from political parties. So that balance is important. If the government is able to fund, then it's a good proposal to promote democracy. They say democracy is expensive. So if it's possible, it can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, co-chairs and members of the committee. I'll quickly pick on about 2 of the questions and seek to respond to them. I'll pick on the question on Political Parties Liaison Committee, PPLC. Presented, and we have the steering committee of PPLC. Within PPLC, we have the steering committee, which brings together all the fully registered political parties so that they also have a platform, a forum, to discuss issues on the part of the political parties, and then now brings into the bigger picture of PPLC, or PP, and IBC. However, the challenge we have noted with PPLC